Well, here's Mr. 318. We've got a lift here. I'll try to get this thing set out on the ground. Well, there we go. Mr. 318. Got a starter for it, an alternator rebuild kit or starter rebuild kit, torque converter, transmission. Don't have a dipstick or a tailpiece, but don't look too bad. I haven't tried to turn it over or anything yet, but it was inside covered up, so I doubt if it's bad. Maybe I'll try to put a big socket on there and just see if I can turn it over. The least thing I could do is pull all the plugs out of it, squirt some lube in it. It's got a transverse Ford style mount, motor mount. I know it'll take a little measuring and fooling around on this thing. I guess first thing to do would be to probably just put it together and try to start it here on the floor. I don't have an engine stand. I probably should buy one. But me and this little skinny guy got it out of the truck. Borrowed my buddy's cherry picker here. So $400. I can't really cry about that for a motor and a transmission. It's probably 95% chance of being good. So that means I'll have like $1,000 in that little Rambler, so I should make some money on that. Well, here are the plugs front to back. These first two on the driver's side look real good. I don't know what this one is. It's got some white looking stuff on it. This one looks like it's kind of fouled with oil or rust. The front one here is rust, and these three back ones here look like this was a pretty good running motor. So I know it's set for 10 years in a garage. So no telling what's going on with the motor. I put a couple bolts back there in the crankshaft and a bar and tried to turn it. I'm just rocking the motor. I didn't really try real hard to get it turning over or anything. I'm just hoping maybe it might be free, but it's probably stuck up a little, so I'm just going to squirt a bunch of WD-40 down in each cylinder and let it set, and hopefully that'll be enough to turn it over. We'll find out. I did find in the back there was a really bad leaky freeze plug. You can tell there's a lot of rust and stuff on it, so I imagine that's why they pulled the motor out. They had to get the transmission out to fix the freeze plug, and who knows what happened after that, but I think freeze plug is why this motor kicked the bucket. I haven't pulled a valve cover or anything. I'll do that, but don't look like it's been leaking real bad. I don't see any oil leaks or anything, or Nothing abnormal. It actually looks pretty clean. The transmission, I haven't even looked at it yet. But the guy said he was storing it for his buddy and he had to move it 4 or 5 times. And finally, the last time he moved it, the guy just said, "Oh, go ahead and keep it at yours." So he sold it to me. Anyway, I have a feeling that this motor will be good enough. I can't really complain. We'll see. The head off. There was a little kind of strange smelling dirt in it, but it's not in bad shape. Let me get some light here. There's a little rust down in there, but it's surface rust. Wasn't a lot of dirt or trash or anything inside this. Don't look like it leaked a lot of water. There's not. I don't think this engine's got very many miles on it, at least not according to this head. Actually, it looks in pretty good shape. It smells weird. It smells like it's been sitting a long time, but it don't have that burnt oil nasty smell. And I dug around here and there's a casting number back here on the runner, and turns out what this is a 67 318 LA block with a 2-barrel, and the casting numbers on the block on the other side are the same. Turns out this is just like a little flex plate that bolts on to the torque converter. I get one off eBay for 20 bucks. I haven't pulled the other valve cover, but looking at this one, yeah, it's fine. I think this motor's good. I haven't even checked the oil. Yeah, well, it's not completely black, and it's full of oil. I don't see any signs of water or anything, so I think I got a good motor here, and the transmissions have been fairly well sealed, so I think it's good. So I'll get some valve cover gaskets. I don't even know if I need them. Looks like I might be able to use this one. Looks like it was leaking water around the valve cover gaskets where that rust come from. Right there on top. I probably won't even have to have that. See if the other one breaks when I take it off. But I don't think I'm going to have any problems with this motor at all. I'll get me a flex plate, and then I can put the torque converter on it, and the torque converter's got the teeth for the starter, and that's a starter rebuild kit, so I think I'll probably be able to crank this thing over. Meanwhile, I'll just let it set. I'll probably find a big socket. I don't know what kind of bolt that is down in there. It's pretty big. I'd say like, I don't know, 1.25 inches or something like that. I don't think I've got a socket that big. But anyway, you can see there's a little black stuff on the floor. Didn't really blow a lot of dirt or anything out. So I think we've got a pretty good motor. Yeah, a few parts and a little work, and I think that this thing will run. Decided to pull that manifold off. Man, there's a lot of rust and stuff in the intake ports. Looking down in here, I can see the valve, and there's quite a bit of rust on it. You can see it down in there. This one's not bad. This one's got quite a bit of rust. It's kind of like loose, scaly rust. And that one there is just completely full. These are pretty much full. So, surprisingly, there's not really any bad signs here. I mean, as far as burnt oil and this and that, I may luck out. I'm gonna vacuum this out of here before I try to blow it. The cam don't look bad. Well, and you know, somebody's had that manifold off there. It's obviously not the right gasket on it. Don't know what they were doing, or whether they changed heads or what, but so I'm gonna clean this up good and then just pour some WD-40 down on that cam. Hopefully, I may have to do a valve job on it. I hope not. Maybe I can find some other 318 heads or something like that. Anyway, I'll get this cleaned up and sucked out of there, and I can see a little better what's going on. Well, a combination of air hose and a vacuum. I got most of it out. I can still see there's some pretty heavy chunks down in there. Try to look through the camera here. These two cleaned out pretty good. And this side here, yeah, making a difference upside down. There's some still pretty heavy stuff in there. I don't really think that I'm going to get anywhere with not having rusty valves. I don't know. I guess it depends on what's up and what's down. Boy, that one's really looked like it might have had dirt and some other stuff in that. Can't really do it with the camera and the light. Yeah, now you can see a lot of stuff down in there. So anyway, I'm sure those valves are all stuck, and the lifters are probably stuck in the bore. I think really the only solution to this is to pull the heads off. I can reach in there with something and scrape the rest of that rust out, and clean it up. It's kind of disappointing, but a lot of rust scale come out of those intake ports. I think, don't know what happened. Looks like it obviously got water in it somehow, but at least I can pour some WD-40 down in all this stuff. Hopefully it'll free up the motor and I can turn it. Who knows, I may have to pull the pan off. Well, I've obviously got to pull the pan off because I got a lot of dirt down in there now. But we'll see. Of course, my fond hope is that all I have to do is turn it over a few times with WD-40 in it. Who knows? Most likely though, I'm going to have to put heads on it. Well, it's a lot of WD-40. Luckily I've got a gallon of it, so I just splashed a bunch in there. Hopefully it'll get into them lifters. I think I got enough to fill them up, and it's a good thing I didn't manage to get it turned over the way it was. And the distributor was frozen, so anyway, I'll let that. It's got some in the cylinders now, and I'm sure that whatever cylinders are open, I could probably find that out just by looking. Like this one here would probably be open, and it's probably got the same kind of rust in there, so who knows. This may be a junk motor, maybe something that I can hone out and put piston rings in it. I don't know, but it's not going to be one of these clean it up and start it deals. Well, I got this up on the engine stand. I bought one, went to Harbor Freight. They didn't have one. This is from AutoZone. This is a little more expensive, $100. It looked the same to me, but I started got this motor up on it, and you can see the crap that's coming out. Probably a gallon of water came first, and now it's this stuff. You know, the guy said it had been inside for 10 years. Yeah, well, that's possible, but it was outside for probably 10 before that. But this stuff just coming out like, I mean, it's just terrible. And I just poured about half a gallon of gas in it from the top, just trying to get this stuff to come out. The freeze or the drain plug was stuck. It was glued in with silicone. You can see it's just some horribly thick stuff. I don't know if the gasoline helped it at all, but yeah, looks like it might be freeing it up a little. Yeah. Anyway, so I basically got lied to about this motor, That happens sometimes, I guess. I should have probably insisted that we do something with it, but the guy was willing to deliver it, so at any rate, I was looking on eBay for motor parts and stuff, and the parts are not too bad for this motor. Re-ring set is like $50 now. It looks like it's running pretty good. Gasket sets, I get a whole rebuild set for like $70, including head gaskets. Yeah, no, it's coming out pretty good. So it's a fairly cheap motor to rebuild. The heads are a little expensive. Apparently the 340 heads fit it, but I don't know. I'll pull this pan off of here today and see why the motor's froze. Man, there's some big junk coming out of it now. Looks like maybe that gas did something. But there was a gallon of water. Well, of course, water would sit in the bottom, but we're nowhere near getting a quart of oil out of that yet. And these stands, they only got one roller on them, so you try to balance a pan on that little single thing, unless you got something to hold that pan, it's gonna fall off and you're gonna have a couple gallons of oil in your floor. So I just threw an old piece of plywood on here to prevent that from happening. And yeah, if you want to ask how do I know, I've done it before. Boy, that's looks like tar coming out of there. So anyway, looks like I'm going to have to go a lot further in this motor than I wanted. I have no idea about that transmission. It's wrapped in plastic, but just from the amount of water it was up in top and the rust, I figured that there's going to be a lot of water in the oil. Anyway, I'll let it try to finish draining here, and hopefully I get most of that stuff out of there. And now it's coming out pretty good. Looks like the gas might have finally made it down through the oil. Anyway, disappointing motor buy. Hopefully the transmission's good. It's got that dipstick tube hanging out of there. It's probably full of water too. So I had to pull a pan on it and check it. Yeah, I can smell gas pretty good now. So I don't know if it's this stuff I threw in top or whether it's finally making through. It's kind of running now. So eat lunch and let this thing drain, and we'll pull that pan off, see what it got. Well, that took a while to get off. I had to break that one motor mount loose, but this thing looks like it's been rebuilt. There's not even oil on it. It's bone dry. The water wasn't even up to the top of the crankshaft. I can't really tell too much here. Let me get a light and see if we can see it a little better. Well, the Looking down in here in the pistons. Those pistons look almost new. I don't see any oil on them at all. In fact, this cylinder here, this one with the piston up, I can still see the hone marks on it. And the rest of them are, can't see in that one. This one here, I can see a little wear on it. But somebody rebuilt this motor, and I don't think they ran it very long at all. The timing chain looks like a single row. Of course, I got some bad freeze plugs, but they don't really tell you much. You see the goop that was on the oil pan. I finally got it all out of there. And there was quite a bit of oil in it, plus the gas. But this one cylinder that I can see here, it looks like it's, I see what it looks like, burn mark, but I'm sure that's just the light. But I can see the cross hatching. So I got a feeling somebody rebuilt this motor. And that might be why they kept it. Well, here's 7 rod mark. Look like they're all marked 7. No, here's a 6. Main bearings are 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's right. Yeah, I got a 7 rod there. Anyway, I don't see a lot of reason why this thing wouldn't be good. Take it apart, clean everything. I'll probably put it right back together. These heads, of course, I don't know about them. They had a lot of water in them. But it's possible that only the ones with open valves rusted the seats. So even though I was really disappointed in this motor after looking at these rods and crankshaft and stuff, I don't think there's any trouble at all with it. I can spray a little lubricant down in these cylinder walls now, and I can still get to my bolts here on the back, and maybe I can get a bar in it and turn it over. I don't like this lift particularly. Another kind of interesting thing, there was some antifreeze come out of the motor. So they were trying to take care of it. Anyway, we'll lube it up a little and see if I can turn it. I didn't have a socket here for this thing. I had like 1.25 inches, and it's not that big. But I know getting the oil pan off of it's not going to really make much difference in turning it. But before the motor was, I couldn't get any lube. I did put them down the spark plug holes So maybe some got down in there, and I can spray it from the bottom. Maybe I can wiggle it back and forth and crack it loose. But I am going to have to pull those heads off, of course. And I'll probably just take this whole motor apart, clean it up, put it back together. I think it'll be fine. We'll see. Pull the heads off this motor. They were just full of rust, and this one here, I finally took a wire brush, got it down in there, and I was able to knock this piston out. These two are really bad, and there was one over here. It's stuck right there. It had a lot of rust in it. The rest of them look okay. The heads, they were pretty bad. This is this one on the driver's side. And there's the passenger side one. Those two back ones there are just really, really bad. There's that piston. You can see how much junk is on it. I can't even tell it has rings. But I was able to finally pound it out. I used a 1/4-inch drive, socket drive on the end, and then a wooden handled hammer to finish knocking it out. That's what the cylinder looks like. Pretty much bad all the way around. Now I don't know whether this stuff is into the cylinder wall or whether it's just metal built up on it. But I've got a little micrometer here. I'm going to put in here and see what see how much bore we can got. What I'm hoping is that I can hone these 3 cylinders and get them to like 10 thousandths over or something like that. Buy 3 pistons for it. I really don't want to take this whole motor and rebuild it, but if I do, a set of pistons are only like $100, 200 for rings. I might as well put a camshaft and everything else in it. But I'm trying right now to just to see if this thing is even gonna be able to be bored. It may be so rusted it can't even bore it. Well, I cleaned them up and measured them. The piston here was 3.94, and that's 30 over. And I cleaned up the top of one of these pistons, and that says it's 30 over. So this thing was already bored 30 over. And I've got my little micrometer here somewhere. Let me see if I can